So today, I hope we can focus down on some interesting talk to ground us a little bit. So it's good to see you.
It's good to see you too. I think that was sort of a great as we think about getting started tonight.
Yeah.
So, 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 we love this time on Sunday night when we have a chance to just sort of we have unwound
Wow.
since Friday and Saturday, and then we just sort of get to sit back and chat about what we think about stuff. And so, if anybody has any big opinions on something or
Yeah.
something you want
That's
us to chat
fine.
about, we're happy to chat about it tonight. But so, Catherine, where do you want to get started? You
Well, I
sort
just
of
want to
opened
say
this up.
something to get us all started up because we're waiting for people to come. I'm glad people are here for our Sunday sit down. But let's talk about our husbands for a second. I think Sunday night they know our show better than ours. Mine's like, you're going on at 7 with Fennell, and then what are we going to have for dinner, right? So, and I was in Waynesburg this weekend. I made a trip down there, and I on my way back, I have my fight back sign because of the Virginia elections. So much is going on with the vote yes, the national referendum, the referendum we have on the ballot. I'm really kind of a little bit. I don't hate to use the word worried. So, as I'm driving back from Williamsburg and I have my vote yes, fight back sign on, I hope everybody in the world, no one drove me off the road or, chased me off the road. But that ballot initiative is so important. And I feel a little anxious about it.
Yeah, I have to tell you, I feel a little bit anxious too. But I was out canvassing a little bit
Yeah.
on Saturday, and all I really had to say was Trump.
Trump.
And people were really excited, and I was also surprised about the number of people who have already voted.
No
So,
kidding.
yeah, they were like, "I've already voted," and so I was really happy about that. So it's not hard to get your head around. What I think is, though, we have to think about the audiences that we're talking
Right.
to, and we
Right.
be really strategic about where we're going and what matters to them. And for some people, when you say, "This is the way that we reel in Trump. This is the way
Right.
that we stop him." And people are all about that. So I think there's opportunities to talk about this in ways that people understand it. But I think that we also have to talk about the sense of urgency because
Yeah.
it is a really short amount of time. And so the only thing that I worry about is the urgency, ensuring that people can hear in our
Right.
voices, can hear in the ads, can hear wherever they're getting wherever they're getting it from, that
Right.
there is a sense of urgency about this. And what I think is also important is that this to me is not a Virginia issue. It is a national
It's
issue.
a
And
national.
so people who have relatives who are all over the place and they have relatives in Virginia, they should be calling those relatives in Virginia saying, "Hey, I saw this on the news and I am calling to make sure that you're getting out to vote." Because if we don't make this thing work, it will be national and global ramifications if we don't get this to work and win.
Yeah. No, and that's why I kind of wanted to start with that today, because I have to say, centering that little bit of that anxiety, because I think we know how important it is, right? I mean, and I think when we see the war going on, this horrible illegal war, we're sending Marines there. They are landing, they're going in this area. It's serious. And when we see the president talk about sending ICE to airports, like, he's doubling down. He's gonna say, "Well, we could take care of the airports and we'll be arresting illegals." And we're saying, I'm thinking to myself, here we may be shutting down the borders. When people said, "Oh, well, Trump will build a wall," I'm like, he will also build a wall around this country and isolate us. And he is doing that. It's just so important. So what are some of your thoughts about how we make sure we break through, really keep breaking through to the getting this out, how important it is? Because I don't know if the whole world they're so busy. Are they focusing on this particular initiative?
Yeah, so I've said many, many times, you have the disengaged, you have the exhausted,
Because I
and then you have the folks who don't know about something. And I think part of it is understanding what the implications are to you.
Right.
And so there are real implications to families based
Right.
on what has happened with just the big bill. the bill that has cut SNAP benefits, the bills that have cut affordable health care, the bill that has made healthcare more expensive for everyone, the bill that is messing with education. These are all the things that the Republicans have done. And if we allow them 2 more years to continue to do this without any restraint on Trump, the life that you live today, whether you think it's good or bad,
Right.
will be worse.
Well, what I'm thinking too is maybe this is going to be one of those elections because when we read, again, if you're tuning in, everybody, it's great to see people here. I see Stairs join. Hey, my friend Stair, and talk about fighting back. She's been really leading the fight in our sign wars. Let's just say it. So we appreciate everything that she's doing, and really, when that's got us ramped up, in such energy. Um, but feeling that a little bit of feeling a little bit behind for some reason because an article just came out just talking about the redistricting and this redistricting initiative in Virginia that Republicans are ramped up in certain areas and they're beating us in early vote. And I tell you, I just don't like to lose at anything. So I hate to hear that I'm maybe behind. So I think that's why I'm anxious. But at the same time, I think when we start to hit our stride with the No Kings and we start to get this, I see anti-war messages coming out, maybe we can also break through and use that opportunity to really say to people, this is this damn serious and we can't sit back on our heels and we can't take anything for granted.
So this is what I would say, and this is to Robin, and this is to Stair and Lindley and many, many other women who are part of the work that we do.
Yep.
Stair for signs and ensuring that we get signs that make sense. Lindley for out there in the rain and the snow with my niece Courtney to make sure that we can all get signs. But what I would say is every one of us worked hard, and we have 64 people in the house, right?
Yeah, I
And
know.
so
Right.
this is Robin who says these 64 people in the house that we took should be out there.
Yes.
Because if people were that engaged and enthusiastic to vote for them then, they will be that engaged and enthusiastic to be out there for them now to ensure that this referendum passes.
You said
So
it.
if we can do that, then
Yes.
we can stop worrying if everybody does their part.
Well, I loved it on Friday. We did the call to action, and I know over 100, of emails went to legislatures about it. And I will say that I did, you're seeing a little bit of movement. And tonight, I'll appreciate it. I got a call from our friend Jackson Miller, really saying he's all in, doing everything. We're going to work together. It was a really positive call. I really felt bolstered by that, and my anxiety level was a little tampered. Just saying, look, we're going to do this, and he felt the same way we do. We want people to wake up. We need to really work together, and we only have so many days to do it. So I'm glad we got that out of our system. So a sense of voting yes and getting that out. But I just will say to you, it drives me nuts. It drives me nuts feeling behind and a little.
Well, it's okay. You should always feel like you're behind. It makes us work harder.
I say one thing too, and I'll say what really bugged me, and I forgot to say it, is our own Democratic Party of Virginia not doing much. They don't even have a social media presence. Can we just call them out to get on the horn here? I mean, this drove me crazy. I went on their Facebook and Twitter. No posts about this at all. No posts for like weeks. Dead. Okay. Like, come on now. I'm just saying, everybody in the game, step up your game. I ain't gonna go with it anymore. We work 7 days a week. Get off your can.
Yeah. Okay. I
Okay.
think we did good with that one.
I had to bury that one. Just had to say
Okay.
it. Okay, good. Well, so what else is on your mind, friend? When it's Women's History, we're getting into the last week. I know we're going to have Lieutenant Governor Hashmi on this week on Friday and Congresswoman Jennifer McClellan, such movers and shakers and history makers. So I know that you've been really rocking the Women's History Month and your thoughts of we just talked about great women making history with Robin, Stair, Lindley, and the team. I see Nancy Hall and other people in this call. So, what think you?
Okay, I'm just gonna tell you
What?
that Michelle Hornish joined.
What she did? Oh, don't get all it's so go Michelle, gonna make her cry over
And
here.
so
Good to see you, Michelle.
just maybe you'll wanna invite her in and let her come in, but,
Well, maybe, yeah.
yeah, so maybe you'll wanna invite her in. She's gonna say, "I'm never gonna join you guys because every time I join, you want me to come in." But let me tell you what I've been thinking about women's history, because so Miss Margaret has been reading this book on Lillian Smith, So, of course, anything that Miss Margaret does makes me very curious. And so I wanted to just figure out who this Lillian Smith is. And I
Right.
haven't got the book yet. But here's what Lillian Smith did. Here's who she is. She was born in 1897. And so during the segregation movement, she just was just undaunted in her thoughts about it. And she just believed that there was this hypocrisy in terms of what Southern Christians actually said and what they actually did. And so she criticized Jim Crow openly. She was didn't care about being ostracized socially. It was what she believed in. And I loved it because I thought, geez, you know who would love her? Linda Hersham would love her
Your friend Linda
because
Grisham,
my
right?
Linda Hersham that I talk about all the time.
Right.
So when I think
Oh,
about
man.
really amazing women,
When we think about really amazing women,
I
what
I
are you doing?
I think you stay right there, Michelle. We're going to come to you. So when I think about these amazing women, I think about, wow, Miss Margaret is onto something with this Lillian Smith, who was amazing. She wrote a lot of books. She wrote a lot of nonfiction books. Strange Fruit was one of the books that she wrote. Interestingly enough, when Billie Holiday did the song Strange Fruit, as she said that it was from the book. But there's a whole story about that. But my point is that Linda Hersham, who was not afraid to be ostracized, who spoke her mind about the things she believed, Lillian Smith, very, very much the same.
Right.
And we have bold women too who are not afraid to speak their mind. And I just love to go back in history and take a look at these women and say, we can do this too, because I believe in my soul that we will recover through all that ails us, but women will be leading the way. Men will certainly be there with us, but women will lead
Mm,
the way. So those are the two that I'm thinking about. And when we talk about the SAVE Act, I'm going to tell you about Mary McLeod Bethune again.
good. Hey, Michelle, what's going on?
It is so wonderful to see you as always. I apologize. I was cutting a pineapple for dinner,
Yeah, I'm glad you stopped in and kind of
but
mindful.
I saw what time it was. I saw what time it was, and I got a notification that you guys were on, and I said, "Oh, I'm gonna miss my friends." That's why I turned it on while I
So
was
don't
getting the
don't
cutting
worry.
board
I
out.
promise that we won't make you join every time we see you. But I
Oh, I
I I
love
saw
seeing you
you.
all.
I saw you, and I was like, there's Michelle.
What
It's
was
an absolute delight to see you guys. You know that I feel that way.
right? I used to think that cutting a pineapple is a very welcoming thing. Like I was just in Williamsburg, they have all the pineapples in there. So what are you going to do? So you're making some pineapples for dinner? Is that your
Well, I mean, that's part of it. So that's, I have
love
a 13-year-old who's 5'11", and so there are multiple courses.
it? Yes.
Every evening there's, it's a full course meal every day.
Well, I just want to say one of mine is six, almost he's 6'6", and he's a vegan. So keep giving him pineapple. He may grow to be 9 foot. But I'm so glad you're here. So tell us what's on your mind when you think about, like, let's just bring up the SAVE Act again. You know this has been on our mind, but any updates on in your world? I know that Rachel Bidikofer said to us, so this is just a trap. They just want to see about passing it. And then when they lose, they can use it. But what is your insights at like watching what's happening even with this war? Where's your mind at?
Yeah, I saw Rachel's take on that, and I thought that was an interesting way of looking at it and an
Yeah.
interesting way of framing it. I think that we have to educate people as to what it actually does, so that people realize what they're pushing, right? I mean, and I hope it fails. I hope she's right that it is intended to fail. I'm not always so sure, right? We like to think I sometimes that they can play 3 and 4-dimensional chess, and then it turns out that really they were really just doing what they said they were going to do. So we have to have strategies ready in both places. And speaking as someone who lives in a red state, for those who don't know, I live in St. Louis, Missouri. I live in a blue area of a red state. So speaking as someone who's been dealing with folks like this for a really long time, I can say, it's really important for us to get people out there that understand what the SAVE Act does and would do, and make sure that they can educate their friends, their family, people in their world, about just how bad this is, so that that can then fuel a little bit of anger on their part, and they can help, drum up the, I guess, support for the opposition. I think that's really, really important right now. I'm seeing a lot on social media, women in red states saying, I have a real ID. doesn't matter. It's not going to affect me. And then people are flooding those comments and saying, oh, no, 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 friend, let's explain this.
Right.
And then people walk away saying, that's impossible. There's no way that they would do that. And that's the exact same reaction that I remember my mother, who is also a conservative Republican, she had that same reaction when they were trying to get rid of the ACA.
Oh, interesting.
Right? She was like, that's impossible. They would never do that. They would never get rid of, the protections for pre-existing conditions. And I said, no, really, you have to read it. And so I'm starting to see that same turning of, people's minds and the gears. And so hopefully we can educate enough people so that they can understand this really is what they're asking for. And I think it's pretty dastardly. So
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah. I don't know if you have something you want to say, Catherine, but I was going to say, this is where uh, some really cool ads would be helpful right now for people to actually see. I can see
Yeah.
someone going up to vote and taking out something and saying, "Oh no, we need your birth certificate. Oh no, we need your marriage certificate. Oh no, we need your," and say, "And can you get that by tomorrow?" And I think people really have to understand that to register, that what you'll have to go through to do that is really daunting. And I
right,
think what's interesting is there was a Republican, I don't know what she was. I guess she was in the Senate, and I don't know where she was, but she was a Republican. And she was talking about the fact that after she understood what the bill was, because believe it or not, a bunch of them have no idea what's in the bill.
right.
And so, and then for us, we always talk about what the effect is on women. But the other thing about wanting to have all the voter files is a problem too. That's problematic. So there are lots of things that are in there that are problematic that we have to keep pushing and talking to people about.
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. And, again, speaking as someone who lives in a red state and who deals with red state legislators all the time, it is not infrequent that they don't know what is in the bill.
Right.
These are rank and file folks. They take the bill and they run with it and they vote the way that they're supposed to. I mean, I think that Democrats oftentimes, we're sort of like herding cats. Everybody's got an opinion.
Right.
Everybody wants to read everything. That's not what we're dealing with typically on the other side.
And
Ballot tells
that's
them on the
right.
state legislative side what to do, and they say, "Roger that, friend," and they just go
And
on.
there's a couple of bills, and then there's amendments in this, and so it gets confusing. But I'll just second that. What about women? I had these Republican women on my Facebook thing telling me, why do you make such a big deal? It doesn't, why don't you agree people need an ID to vote? And this is just the other day. This is sort of like showing you what news people are getting, what information they're getting. Cause I'm like, no, no. And I had to go list everything in it because it's pretty long. Absentee ballots, it's about registering to vote, right? It's about stopping even students from registering to vote. It's really a registration issue as well. That's the biggest part of it. And, that they want to just slow all that down or stop it completely, and how we vote, the ways we vote, who can oversee elections. So it's really a lot. And even though when I go through all of it, I don't even know if that's the frustrating thing. They're still not listening. It's almost like, well, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
They're just like, okay. Okay.
I mean, really, honestly, I just keep on wanting to ask people, like, why is the ID that I have to drive a car, why is
Yes.
that not sufficient?
Right. Right.
Why is that not enough? I don't understand why that's not enough. It shows who I am, that I am who I say I am. The voter registration roll should be able to take care of the rest. This is fixing a problem that is
Mhm.
non-existent.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think we go right back to the same issue that we've had in the past, which is they don't really need a rational or logical reason.
Right.
They
Right.
just need a reason. And then people will glom onto it, and the red sort of networks of the media and that whole ecosystem will sort of take over.
Yeah.
So here's what I think. So there are 2 points that I want to bring up. So I don't know if what Rachel says is right or not, but I know that there are people out there, hard to believe sometimes, who are smart enough to look at the data, even that was done by the Heritage Foundation, to know that people who are not legally here or immigrants are not illegal immigrants are not able to vote. It just isn't a thing. And
Right.
I think they looked at it over like 40 years or something, and it was like 70 people or something, and it was still something that caused that to happen. So I think yeah, I like to think that these senators and some of these folks would say to Donald Trump, this is really not a thing. And part of it is that many of their voters would not be able to vote
Right. Right.
either. And
Right.
so I wanted to share this little bit from my name is Mrs. Bethune. This is Mary McLeod Bethune, who is another person that I idolize from our history. But she would conduct night classes so that she could teach people to read. And she would also, do them, and she'd bake cookies and candy and all that stuff because she believed, of course, that Black people should be allowed to vote. But there were people in the neighborhood, white people in the neighborhood, who did not think that that was so. So a representative from the Ku Klux Klan came to her and said that if you don't stop doing what you're doing, which is teaching people how to read and write and baking goods and cakes and pies to raise money to pay poll taxes, we're going to burn your girls' school down to the ground.
Right.
Okay. And so what I'll say is the school didn't get burned down to the ground, but I say that because of the boldness that's required, the courage that is required, the 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 whole idea of just not being silent. And that's what I find that we have to just bolster people to have courage, because we talk about what's difficult for us right now in this moment, but it doesn't come close to what some of the folks in our history whose shoulders we stand on have come through. And as women, just as people who believe in freedom for everyone, we just have to keep on banging and banging and banging until enough people listen and we get the votes that we need.
Baking and baking
Here,
and
here.
yeah, that is a good wrap on that. It's so true because this is what I think too when I feel that anxiety, just that thought of because that's the courage we do need, and I think many of us are trying to use when we go out there trying to fight for democracy, and we see people doing all kind of brave things, and people going out there, and we know what's that is just so important. And I'll just say this, and I think a lot of this in it when we look at it sometimes as Democrats too, we get in the weeds of the technical parts of all of it, right? It's like, okay, it's this and it's not really that. But truthfully, what it is, it's birthright citizenship. It's about immigrants. It's about turning this country into a smaller place overall. And I think that's the vision they're trying to get us to are these a little bit of these laws, and we get caught into all we need is ID or no ID. But we should really show people the vision they want. Once people see into what they want, I think people will be appalled at what it is. We know that they don't want women to have these rights anymore. We see them say it. The Department of War guy, Pete Hegseth, women shouldn't serve, women shouldn't do this, women shouldn't vote. So I think we get caught up, and I think showing the vision is actually probably a good idea because then people can see it a little
Yeah.
bit better.
You know what I was going to also say about this, though, with Mary Bethune and
Yeah.
all the work that she did, that was so that Black people couldn't vote. And what we're seeing now is they don't want white women to vote either. They don't want Black women to vote. They don't want white women to vote, and they don't want Black men to vote. So the point is this:
Yeah.
if you think that you ought to vote, maybe you shouldn't pay so much attention to me. Maybe you should be paying attention to your own vote, because that they're coming for that too. And
Mm.
that is what's happening here. And I think, to your point of helping people see the visuals of what they're
Exactly.
actually doing, I mean, sometimes it's just like, what is this really about? So we just gotta.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah. No, no doubt. Yeah, Michelle, I don't know what little thoughts you have on that, or you got to.
Well, just when you were talking about all of these acts of courage, it just made me think that, a week from today, we will be basking in the glow, right, of no kings. And it's always my very favorite thing as someone who lives in a red state, who really advocates for people who are Democrats in red states. It's always just a favorite of mine to see all the people who are in no kings rallies in small towns, in red places all across the country. And I just cannot wait to see what that looks like next
What are
weekend.
you going to do? Tell us what it looks like for you in Red, Missouri.
Well, I'm in St. Louis, and so
Oh,
I can go just right downtown, which is 10 minutes from me, and be in a big, a really big rally with 10, 15,000 people,
Wow.
or I can go to a small town, not very far from here. And that's might be what I end up doing. I am just so inspired when I see
right.
people who are out there, really speaking to their neighbors. It's great photo ops in downtown
Yeah.
St. Louis, and it'll be a really fun party. But I'm kind of interested in seeing how things are going in some of the small towns. What about you guys? What are your plans next weekend?
I think.
Mine is
Go
mine
ahead.
is Oh, you want to go, Catherine?
No, I was just gonna say, well, I'll just say this, I'm not gonna talk about what I'm doing, is that No Kings is, like you said, I think really a good opportunity for so much to happen to with the anti-war protests we already see. No Kings 3, and then maybe someday we'll be at No Kings 40. Wait, what?
I hope we don't need that many, but
I
yeah,
know. Wow,
maybe.
I'm like, No Kings 3. I mean, Americans only like so many reruns, as we say. So go ahead, but now what's your plan
Well,
down?
of course, I'm in a really small town. So I'm gonna be in my little small town, and we are hoping Melody Copper is one who there's a bunch of them. It's the CARES team, and don't ask me what all of it stands for, but they are the ones who work really, really hard to make sure that we have an awesome No Kings event. We're even on the map. So I went to the map and found it and printed it and sent it out to everybody to say we're on the map. Make sure you come to our No Kings.
That's
Melody
amazing.
has an idea that we could get 1,000 people, so that's what we're working towards.
Oh,
So I mean, you got to dream big. So it's right on 13, which is our main highway, and we have someone, our secretary, actually has a farm. And so there's a big field area right out front. So we'll be right on the highway.
oh,
So they'll be
nice.
out there with the signs and they bring the big truck and it's the stage and
I
it's
love
just a
that.
really awesome event. And so the last time we probably had maybe 500 people. So we're hoping for 1,000 this time.
I
We
didn't
put it
think
in the
that. Right.
newspaper, so
Now, if I could have a request for anybody who's watching or anybody who watches this on replay, if you are out there and you go to a No Kings next weekend and you are in a small town or a small area or a rural area or red area, please put up the population of the town that you're in, or how it voted in the last election, and what your estimate is of the crowd size. That's going to help people like me be able to spread the word about how amazing this
Yeah.
turnout was for you. I end up doing it anyway because usually I'll see like, oh, someone's by a cornfield. This is probably a small town, and I'll usually be able to find it. But make it easy on those of us who are going to be crunching numbers next weekend.
Well, I
okay.
want Fennell to follow up with this because Fennell, you were telling me some stuff about the No Kings with new partners coming in that weren't there before. Let's talk about why we think it may be a little bigger.
Yeah, you maybe we'll get there. So the NAACP, I hadn't seen a lot of action from them when it came to our No Kings protest, but they have been sending around information to their chairs to say participate in
Right.
No Kings. And so I'm really excited about that will bring more people in our community out to our No Kings event. And I'll be following up with phone calls to our chairs as well
Right.
locally to make sure that they invite the people to come. It is so inspiring. It is something that has to say to people that you are there to say, we are a community that believes in fairness. We believe in equality. We believe that people have a right to have free speech. We believe in all of these things. And if you believe that too, if you believe in that idea, then you should come out and be with people who believe it too.
Yeah, well, that's powerful. And I know that, like, even the churches I see getting involved. And Nancy Hall's in the chat. She goes to the same local church up here that I go to. And actually, the pastor talked about it last week. People are getting vocal where usually nonpartisan or political places, but they feel this is, again, the threat is so much a human threat to humanity that people are finally saying, I can't be silent. There's these kind of rules that we see this even in the Yes campaign with our ballot initiative in Virginia about passing the redistricting amendment. People sort of like letting go and saying, we got to go all in. There's no more in this side or that side. It's humanity. It's really caring about our country, about people. And, because what this administration is doing is not only hurting its people, it's hurting other people in other states. I saw a really interesting projection about, even from the health perspective, how many kids and people have died because of the different things that we've been doing, the embargoes, the things that we feel like we're riding way above. It's impacting. People aren't getting medicine. People aren't getting food. It's really serious. It's beyond the usual like politics. It's really it's how we continue as a people. And I think, and how we decide, and really how we decide what that looks like for the future. Like, really, it's really that big, what side we're on.
Yeah, I want to say this to Michelle because I had this in my notes for tonight.
Oh, good.
And it was about the thing that we have to do and what sort of moves people. And we've talked about this before, and it only takes a little bit to push me in a certain direction. But when I think about um, the Montgomery a bus
Oh my
boycott,
God.
that was something that put the nation on notice. And it was the women did all of the work underneath of that to make that boycott happen. And so I don't know if you want to say something about that, Michelle, because that was the inspiration to me to say, what we got to do is get something to everybody. We got to figure out how to do that, but we have to touch them in some way. What do you want to say about that? Because you wrote about that beautifully.
I wrote the story of, and I'm going to forget her first name, but her last name is Robinson. Sorry, I'm kind of discombobulated tonight. Uh, but this was the Montgomery bus boycott. Everyone knows just how impactful it was, and that Martin Luther King Jr. was heavily involved, and that he led it for a year, over a year. Incredible work, but it was actually started by one woman and a whole bunch of other women that helped her plan it. Um, and and she actually stayed up all night. She was a professor of English at the local college, and she stayed up all night and used a mimeograph machine, and had all these playbills that she made like three, I think, to a sheet, and passed those out to make sure that everybody around all of Montgomery understood what they were going to do. So all of this was in place and planned, so that when someone was arrested, they were able to act in a moment's notice.
Wow.
And so that's exactly what happened. And so everything was put into place and they got it going. And that morning they sat there looking out the windows, wondering, are people going to do this boycott? Or are we going to see everybody on buses? Will this matter or won't it matter? And they were really on tenterhooks that morning. And then she saw bus after bus go by with nobody on it. And they knew that it had been an incredible success. And that was the night that they went to the church and they said, this is what we did. And we think that it's been successful, but now it's for you all to continue it forward. So they got that spark going. They ignited that spark that was then carried on by the rest of the movement. So everyone had a role, and they were inventive, creative, thoughtful, and incredibly passionate, and very courageous to do all of that on their own.
So you see there, we have 30 days for our referendum to get done.
Can do it.
It really inspired me, and I feel like that's what I want to see. Empty buses going by, by, by. Like, that's what I want to feel. Like our movement in Virginia and just across the nation, we see more people just being willing to make the sacrifice. And like I said, it's really determined who we want to be and what side of this we want to be. People that want that people can get medicine and they're cared for, or people that say, I don't care how many people die from COVID or something because the vaccines, it's the mindset that we're fighting for, the kind of people we are. And I think that we are. So I'm so glad that you were able to come in tonight.
Oh, sure.
So,
Anytime I'm
yeah,
making dinner and I pop in the comments,
yeah, I
you're
love
welcome to just shoot me a link. It's fine. No, I love chatting with you.
Well,
So
no,
thank you for
really.
inviting me.
Yeah, well, we're going to wrap up, but we want to say, go finish your pineapple. We good to see you. It's great the friendship. It is really great to have. So, Michelle, thank you for being here tonight.
Same. It's lovely to see you all.
And
Can't wait to see
lots
everybody's
of
photos from No Kings next weekend. So take
Yeah.
lots of photos, lots of video.
Yeah, good. And I know a lot of your followers are in the room, so thanks for coming, followers. And subscribe to us.
For coming. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely subscribe. Okay.
Thank
Bye,
you.
y'all.
Bye.
All right, friends. I'll let you wrap up.
Oh, well, I'm just going to say I'm really glad that Michelle was able to pop in. That added a little more pizzazz. That's pretty wonderful. But I think I just leave everybody with the No Kings. If you're on here, call 10 people that you know and tell them to be there. Tell them where to go and tell them to be there and why it's so important. And if you're in Virginia, you know that you got to get out to vote. And if you're not, call the folks that you know in Virginia and ensure that they get out to vote. That's
Yeah.
what I got. What
Yep,
you got?
that's what I got. I think that this Friday we're going to celebrate our last Friday of Women's History Month because we're trying to keep in our normal feeling, even though things feel kind of out of whack. We have Congresswoman Jennifer McClellan, and the really exciting thing on Friday for our Friday Power Lunch, we have Lieutenant Governor Ghazala Hashmi because it's going to be movers and shakers and history makers. I'm really interested in hearing the Congresswoman talk about what's happening on the national level with the war, and by then we'll have, we see things just really ramping up. It's getting serious, energy, everything that's going on. And then I'm really interested in Lieutenant Governor Hashmi. It is going to be so meaningful to have her on and really talk more in depth with her. We're just going to have a great show, a great way to wrap up because the next week will be a little bit on a break for a week. But I just want to thank everybody for coming.
Well, I just wanted to mention one other bold woman, and that is Katherine White, who calls the president's office and fusses and complains about things. So I'm hoping, yeah, she's brave and she's bold, and I'm just hoping when she goes to Italy that she gets to come back.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I know I was driving down the road today in my van, and I have the Fight Back pasted across in painter's tape, and there's these big trucks going by me, and I'm thinking, oh, ooh, they said that I have that MAGA stuff across the back. It says MAGA's rigging the election. Ooh, I'm thinking they're going to run me off the road. So when they pass, I try to look as crazy as possible. No, I do it. I'm just like, okay, no one's run me off the road yet, but yeah, yeah,
All right.
ICE is gonna be at my house at some point because I just call the president as needed, whatever.
There you go.
All right, everybody have a great night. Thank you, friend. Always great to see you. Enjoy your time. And
Thank you.
I either go make scallops, so
All right. I'm going to go have dinner.
yeah, good. I'll talk to you. Bye-bye.